And I now call upon Darren Johnson, Green member for the London Assembly. Darren, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, everyone. And if only more of the debates in the House of Commons were like the quality of the debate that we've seen this evening, then we would be a lot further ahead in terms of the battle on climate change. Because we have seen a dismal failure from the government in terms of climate change. And we only need to look at today's measures. Yes, there are some welcome measures in those, but totally inadequate. If they'd have been put forward 20 years ago, when we were really demanding that action needed to be taken on tackling climate change and really starting to demand that, if they'd been put forward then yes, they would have been highly appropriate. But it's far too little, far too late, and so that's been one of the hallmarks of this government and action in Westminster. Secondly, though, not only have we seen inadequate measures, we're actually seeing the government systematically trashing good initiatives. The private members bill that Colin was talking about on contraction and conversion, we do need those sort of measures supporting. Shamefully, the government failed recently to support the fuel poverty bill in Parliament, which would have established a national insulation programme for every home, tackling fuel poverty and dramatically bringing emissions down. Shamefully, they talked that bill out. It will be coming back in the autumn, so there is a chance for another go there. So we've seen them halting good initiatives that have come forward, but then we've also seen them, perhaps worse of all, as we heard during the aviation debate, initiatives that go so completely, totally contradictory against the whole battle against climate change. Backing new road building programmes, absolute madness. How could anyone in their right mind who professes to care about tackling climate change be supporting massive new road building programmes? How could anyone in the right mind who says they care about tackling climate change support airport expansion and the massive expansion in aviation? Totally contradictory. So I have been accused by the Climate Change Minister, Joan Ruddock, who I'll be standing against at the next general election. She actually said Green politicians were worse than climate change deniers because we're never happy and so difficult to please. Now, I do give credit where credit is due in terms of the initiatives that have come forward, but it's far too little, far too late, which is why I'm delighted to see these 4 bills put forward for the emergency parliament this evening. And we do need to be talking about emergency measures, because whilst the political mainstream have kept saying the Green movement are always accusing the Green movement of putting forward unpalatable measures, they are partly to blame for the challenging position that we find ourselves in, because what they kept doing by failing to act 20 years ago, the time scale that we've got to sort out the problem is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So more and more radical measures are needed in a shorter space of time, and it's their fault that we're in this position now. If we'd have started 20 years ago, we would have been able to introduce things in much more gradualist approach. But the time for gradualism is over. It is the time now for emergency measures, which is why I do commend the bills this evening. But I also want to add my support to all of those campaigners who take up peaceful direct action in support of action on climate change, and let's see more of that. Let's also see more action to transform our political system so that more of the debates in Westminster are like the ones we've heard this evening, rather than the ones you hear so often in the House of Commons. So we do need that. So we do need the campaigning. We also need to ensure that when it comes to election time, that we do encourage many more people to elect the sort of voices you've heard this evening, rather than the sort of voices that too many of them fill that place. Thank you.